started. Okay, welcome everyone, and welcome to those who are watching this session today. This is a Q&A session really for our latest module on open research and open access. I'm just going to share a couple of slides just to get us started and introduce the topic of our discussion today. Okay, so hopefully you will be able to see that. So this is a discussion from Module 5 of our Digital Hub for Open Research in East Africa online learning program. And in Module 5, we talk about open access and open research communication. So the module itself is called Communicating Research and Achieving Impact Through Open Approaches. And for those of you who haven't joined the module yet, there's still plenty of time. The module is open, but will be available for the rest of the year to complete the module. And I'll just give you a quick overview of what's in the module. So there are 3 weeks, but you don't have to necessarily do them within 3 weeks. So in week 1, we talked about, why publish in academic journals, publishing in open access journals, and avoiding so-called predatory publishers. And there's a short quiz to check your understanding on that. And then in week 2, it's on improving your publication strategy. So we go a bit deeper into how to find and select the right journal for your research, how to identify target journals, and publishing in open access books and book chapters. There's another short quiz on finding suitable journals, and there's a forum activity which we ask you to do, where we ask you to share your publication strategy. After reading everything we've said in there about how to choose your right journal, we asked you how you choose a journal. And then in week 3, this is about research communication more broadly, so communicating to academic audiences. So understanding your audience, developing a communications plan, and then things such as elevator pitches and media interviews, blogs and policy briefs, infographics, posters, and also communicating in local languages. And there are 2 activities at the end of week 3. We have a forum exercise, which is asking you to explain your research using one of these mediums. And then we've also got an exercise for you to share your aspirations or your experiences of research communication. And they're both forum activities where we want you to share your own views and your own experiences of these topics. So that's what you need to do to complete this module. And as I say, it's open for the rest of the year, so there's plenty of time to dive in there and catch up. So that was my brief introduction to the module for those of you who haven't done it. We got quite a small group at the moment, but I'm hoping more people will join as we go on. So perhaps what we'll do is we'll start off by just having a discussion, starting with our facilitators on their experiences of these topics. So got another of our facilitators joining, so we've actually got more facilitators than participants at the moment, but hopefully we'll have a wealth of experience here for those of you who are joining and those of you who are watching this back. So I guess if I ask a question for you, for the facilitators and also for any of the participants here, what is your experience in publishing in a journal, publishing in an open access journal? Could you tell us about your experiences? Who would like to start with that question? And when you start, just give yourself a quick introduction so we know who you are. Should we start with Adongo or Aneth?
Hi.
Annette can go first, yeah?
Okay.
Annette, you go.
Yeah. Walter, you're going first?
No, you go first, Annette.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Nice to catch up again. My name is Aneth David. I'm based at University of Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. And when it comes to publishing, I think we all know publishing is such an important part of our careers. And I think it's a requirement for graduation from many master's programs, but also PhDs programs, and for academics or even researchers. I think it's a requirement to progress from one step to another. But also publications also, they send a signal to the world in terms of like your expertise. Usually I tell people when you're looking for a supervisor, you want to look at somebody who has expertise in a certain area. And how to know that? Look at publications. Yeah, there are many places where you introduce yourself as a researcher. People want to do what are you publishing, which topics, and British culture is really strong. So my personal experience, I think I started learning about open research, open access, especially during my PhD studies. And immediately, I think for me, it was really easy to understand open access, and I took it up. I was just disconnected. I don't know why. So far, all my papers have been in open access journals, and luckily, I have not. During my PhD, my university had. Let me just want to switch off my camera if that helps with the internet. I have a feeling nobody can hear me.
We can hear you now. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not sure where I broke, but I was saying so far all my papers have been in open access journals. During my PhD, I was lucky the institution I was associated with was part of an agreement where we could publish in open access journals which require APC for free. But ever since that, still I make it a priority. When I'm selecting a journal to publish my work, I make it a priority to publish in open access journals because of the benefits, but also because it's going to be more accessible to more people. It's going to bring more visibility to the research and the researchers. And of course, with time, I learned a lot of these tricks to navigate. So you see a journal which aligns, but they charge APC, but there are waivers, they can be 50%. But even for most of us, 50% is still very high. It can be $1,500. That's like near a professor monthly salary, right? So there are waivers. There are some programs like EIFL, Electronic Information Library. They have agreements with several journals, publishers. For example, Taylor and Francis, I was able to get a 100% waiver for a journal that we hope they will accept to publish, for an article we hope they'll accept to publish because of that partnership. So I really developed a skill to scour, look at the options to pay for APC or support APC where it is required. But also I do use the DOAJ, Directory of Open Access Journals, the database to search. All this is to make sure that all the papers I publish, they're on open access journals. I haven't had to make the tough call to publish in a hybrid journal behind a paywall yet, but also I make sure all the papers before I submit them, I publish them as preprints. So if I have to make that tough call, then at least people can access the preprint version. So that is my experience so far. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Aneth. We lost you briefly in the middle, but I think we captured everything you said. So that was really great, and it's really good that you've picked up on some really important points about APCs, which I'm sure we'll cover again later in the meeting in more depth. And also about using platforms such as Directory of Open Access Journals to find journals that don't charge a fee. So thank you, Aneth. Adongo, I think you were going to go next. You've also had some interesting experiences with publishing in different types of journals, haven't you?
Sure, Handy. Good afternoon, good morning from wherever you're watching from. My experience with publishing open access, I think stretches back to struggling to get visibility, but also, struggling to get the right journal where you can put, your publications and get that acceptance. So all these parameters, of course, inform the choice. And then when it comes to open access publishing, my first engagement was the impression that you have to pay all the time to make your papers accessible. And navigating through that was quite a hassle, because every time you think of open access, the next thing you think of, how much am I going to pay? So just like Annette indicated, a lot of early career researchers always have that fear that if I go for open access, I will have to pay. So I've published in on both the closed and open access across quite international journals, very highly prestigious journals, and I've also published in locally based journals, journals based in Uganda, in Kenya, Africa based, but also international. And you'll find that the high-end publishers will always have these options that, okay, you can publish open access, of course, with the option to pay, but also they have provisions because of, some leverages for LDCs, low and developing countries, that you can waive for you 100%. I think Annette made reference to this when you publish. And it's about being aware about these options that you are able to ask for that waiver, that you are from a low developing country, and you should normally be able to get that waiver. The other option, of course, is to look for directly open access journals, which you always know you're going to publish open access. They have particular target audience, and to me, normally these are very context specific journals targeting particular subject matter, targeting particular regions. It increases a lot the visibility of your work, and I publish in a number of those journals as well. My other experience with publishing open access is the avenue of using university institutional repositories that are normally available, whether it is a closed access or is open access. Universities have that leverage to make sure that whatever their staff, their students publish is made available, at least for the university communities to get access to. So I found that another way of opening up my otherwise closed research by depositing them on the university websites. And, I learned this during my PhD that, when you publish, we take it to the university websites and to the university repository, and you can access it from there for free. And that is something we're not doing in my university at the time. And, we had to start it up, and to me, it helps a lot. You find your work being accessed by so many people you know. Uh, I think briefly that's what I could say about my experience with open access publishing. What I would advise early career researchers who are starting to publish is that always have that mind that yes, you can always get a way around even closed access. But the last one, sorry, I'd forgotten this one, is that open access is equated to being low quality or low standard. That was another very interesting perspective when I was looking out for open access. That a number of times, people mix them with predatory journals because you have to pay to publish. People mix them with the fact that it is normally not the very best of quality because you don't pay to access it. And this is to me a very not true completely. A number of times, what is in open access actually is more highly relevant than even what is closed access. So I think those are my perspectives for now. Thank you very much, Andy.
Thank you very much, Donge. You also mentioned some really important points there, particularly about using sort of your local journals, African journals, which is a really important point. Using institutional repositories, university repositories, also really important. And making the point that open access publishing does not mean low quality publishing, not at all. at all. So thank you for those points. Thomas, would you like to share with us your experience of publishing research open access?
I think my experience is good morning first, and my name is Toamwa. I'm also one of the facilitator. My experience is the same as the previous speaker, Annette and Odongo. So I had a very great experience with open access. Um, and I think I can take mine their reflection or their talks about their own experience with open access is the same that I experience. I just want also to add that in my experience, what made me very happy of being an open access advocate and user is this possibility to publish. Uh, Let me dive in the green open access with institutional repository because when we are talking here, we are talking mostly about journal publishing. But aside journal, open access has also allowed people to make the great literatures. I mean, thesis and all kind of work you have. Uh, Aside journals, of course, being accessible and visible everywhere. So SQL repository again are very interesting and very helpful to make um, research accessible. The great example is how I help in the past a lot of Francophone African researchers. They claim every time that they have PhD thesis and so on. But when they are applying for scholarship and so on, they don't have any concrete concrete link showing that they have this thesis. They don't have a link to share. They just have a copy of the digital application. But when we created the Pan-African Digital Repository, DKMS, so a lot of researchers were able to see and to share the link of their research. And this is very important. They are also now, so I'm also advocating for Zenodo, because if you keep your research on Zenodo, you can share the link later with other people. So it's a sign of visibility. Open access facilitate not only visibility but also traceability of your work. And I can say that all my life as a researcher is built around open access, and that is how I succeed to do all what I'm doing right now because people read my work across the world. So that is what I can say. And one funny experience I had also is when a few years ago, when I think Andy translated one of our work in English, and he wrote his perspective based on our. We were very proud of this. I think that is how I come to know Andy. So that is what I can share for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas. Thanks for reminding me about that. So what happened was you and a colleague published some work in French, and because I saw you at a conference, I took that French article, used Google Translate to translate it into English, and then posted it in a English blog post because I thought this is great, but English speakers wouldn't be aware of this article. So I'd almost forgotten about that. Thank you, Thomas. And this really important point you make about the importance of getting your research online so that people can see it rather than it being a copy on your computer or a paper copy in the library. So that's another thing that we're really trying to make sure that researchers can do all through these online modules. How can you promote yourself and your research by putting your materials online? Thank you, Thomas. Great. So, does anybody else here, would you like to either share your experience with publishing in journals or publishing open access, or did any of what our facilitators say trigger any other questions for you? Do we have any other thoughts leading on from that? Is it I think Revocatus, are you about to say something? Yes, please go ahead.
Hello,
Hi.
can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. In fact, I've published some papers,
Yep.
but because once I used to work at the university, and you know this policy of either you publish or you perish,
Mhm.
then you were forced to find to do some research and make some publications. I remember I published my first paper. It was 2013, but it seems I landed I landed in a journal which I was not sure whether it's a predator journal, it's a correct one. Then it was easy to publish, but they needed money. So because I had a little amount of money, that particular journal is based in the US. So I published that particular paper. By then, in fact, the predatory journal, that thing was not, I think, was not well known. So I published that paper. Then we did, with my colleague, we did a different research and published in the same journal. Then later on, we discovered that, but the issue is, what they wanted was just to get that you pay, then that particular paper is published. No review, no whatever. Then when later on, when this thing of predatory journal came in, then we understood, at least we got some ideas that this could be some of the information about the predatory journal. That they just seek for money, and the paper is not either reviewed. We just pay and they publish that paper. Later on, I moved to the NGO sector. I'm still writing anyway. At least I've published some few book chapters. One was published in the UK and the other one in the US. At least those two book chapters were reviewed, and I did not pay anything. The problem is not that it cannot be accessed by anyone. So it's not an open access one. But at least I published those. But now I'm struggling because I have some papers which I needed to publish. But the problem is I need to pay. Yes, they have to go through the review and all that, but they need some, at least, article processing charges. And for example, the last paper which I wanted to publish, they needed, I think, about more than 100 US dollar. Yes, it was about, I think, 112 US dollar, so that I could be able to publish that paper. And it went through the review process and it was accepted, but I could not publish it because I did not have that money. So that could be my little experience about publication. Thank you.
So, thank you, Revocatus, for sharing your experience. And I guess there are two main things there which I think are worth discussing again. And one is what if you do end up publishing your research in an outlet which might not be a credible journal or might even be one of these so-called predatory journals. So that's certainly a challenge. And then also the matter of you need to publish your research, and the journal are asking you for an article processing charge, which we cannot afford. So two major challenges there. Adongo, you've got your hand up. Do you want to answer one or both of those challenges?
Yes, I think what he shares is very typical. Again, what researchers face, especially in developing countries, the pressure to publish,
Mhm.
either to graduate or to earn a promotion, is very high. And then there's always that pressure. You need to publish. The question is where do you publish? And that maybe is why we are meeting today to discuss the choices of journal outlets. I just want to give you an example. Yesterday, I got a message from one of my former MSc students that your paper has been accepted for publication. He went ahead and paid money, about $1,000, a journal based in Russia. And I was not aware about anything like this. Then I was very surprised. I called him. He says, yeah, he applied for a PhD scholarship. Then they eventually told him to publish whatever he asked. He sent his thesis. The next minute, they're asking him to pay money so that they can publish. So quickly, it happened so fast, but I suspect it's a predatory journal. So we're trying to get that out of the way. The question of choice for the journal, which I think is very important, is that the credibility criteria is normally there for if you look out for them. But the idea is, who is behind it? There are prominent publishing houses that are normally there. The normal review process that normally takes, because most of the predatory journals will give you a week. Within a week, you're able to publish your work. And that may not be, good enough. I review papers, articles, and when they give me to review, I will normally take like 3 weeks because of even just making time to sit and look at it. But if someone tells you, I'm going to review, say submit today, tomorrow we review, the next day you pay, and it's published, then there is something wrong with it. Then, even if you just look at the quality of the articles that are published on that particular journal, the basics, you'll find a lot of things are missing, grammatical errors, maybe not very in-depth, analysis or discussions. So some of these are indicators of, what is not right ahead with these journals. But really, to me, I think there's need for early career researchers to really be mentored on how to handle this process and the pressure to publish against that backdrop of publish or perish that he mentions very well. Thank you.
Mm. Yes, thank you, Adongo. And I think in the module, there's a video interview that we do with you, and you talk through your different publications that you've had through different types of journals. And I think that's a really useful video to any researcher to watch, to show that there are so many different options. And in most cases, you found a way of publishing without actually paying any fee. Just being aware of the you've published in African journals, you've published in journals which are closed access, but you've put that your paper in an institutional repository. So those of you who haven't signed up to Module 5 yet, do check that video with Adongo out to sort of look through his publication choices, which I think is really useful. Would anyone else like to sort of follow up on that?
I would love to hear more from the course participants, like their perspective, challenges, questions, because I don't want to keep sharing blabber about my experience, which may or may not be relevant. So if somebody has something they can say, and then maybe we can comment on that.
Yeah, so who would like to share their experiences or ask any questions about the challenges of publishing? And you can post in the chat box as well, if you like. Any questions about things such as how to find the right journal, how to avoid paying, how to identify journals which aren't credible?
Yeah, I really think this is a Q&A. That's why we have organized the Q&A. So I would really think we need to hear perspectives from those who are taking the course. I think that helps to guide. So I would really encourage questions of whatever nature or insights, experiences, like Robert has just shared these perspectives. It enriches the whole discussion.
A good question in the chat box. Is it possible to publish an MA thesis? What changes should I expect to do so I can publish my work's findings? Thank you. I mean, I guess that picks up on what you said, Thomas, about the importance of getting your work and particularly theses online.
Yes, sorry, there's a lot of noise. My kid is crying upstairs.
Okay. Okay. Sorry to hear that.
I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yes, so regarding the question, I think the first thing is to publish your work as in a green open access voice. So it means that you can archive it on Zenodo. For example, if your institution doesn't have an institutional repository. So now, from my understanding, I know a lot of people very sometimes they want to turn their thesis in a book. If it's what you mean, I think there is also a possibility to turn your 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 thesis, your master thesis in a book. But there's a lot of pitfalls also in this way because even my small brother, my is it my earlier brother? Yeah, or something like that.
Your younger brother.
Yeah, my younger brother. Yes,
Yeah.
thank you. My younger brother fell in this and published with there's a, a company called Edition Européenne, something like that. They used to contact people when you are published your thesis online and ask you to turn the your book your thesis in a book. This editor is prohibited here in Canada. So a lot of students know that. But in Africa, I know a lot of people using this platform to publish, to turn their master thesis or PhD thesis in a book. So the first thing, which is normal, is to publish your or to archive your work on Zenodo. This is the first thing. And it's a good way to publish and keep your work sustained alive, I can say. So that is what I can say. I always have to advocate to publish on Zenodo if your institution doesn't have an institutional repository.
Mhm.
And talking about predatory, some Odongo mentioned it in Africa. Our colleague uh, sometimes face the pressure to publish, and the process of reviewing before publishing can take If it's shorter, it's 4 to 5 months. A good process can go until 1.5 year. So, but sometimes when you see people asking first the money to publish, you need to take a time to look. And they give you the promise that your work will be published after 1 week. This is not normal. So they don't have time to review and so on. However, if you publish yourself, self-archiving, if you self-archive your work on the note as a preprint, for example, this is acceptable and is also well known in the world of scholarly communication. Yeah. So that is what I can say.
No, thank you, Thomas. And so a good point you make about the potential dangers of looking to publish your research as a book chapter with some of the publishers out there. Oh, Aneth, would you like to go next?
No, you could have finished, but I was just saying, so one thing that people who want to publish should look into is a journal policy. So there are journals which allow you to publish as a preprint and then submit to them. Others don't. Those are very few. Very few. I haven't encountered such a journal, and all my papers are already published as preprints. But also there are journals which allow you to deposit the final copy. Let's say it's not an open access journal, but they can allow you to deposit what they call accepted version or something, or publisher version into your institutional repository, but not the PDF after they do some formatting. So there are slight differences across publishers and in terms of whether you hand over all rights to them or they use Creative Commons rights and things like that. So there are different versions of rights or policies in whether you can do pre or post publication depositing somewhere. I just wanted to add that to what was said before. Yeah.
No, thank you, Aneth. Yeah, it's really important to understand the opportunities you have for both preprints and yeah, what we're calling green open access. So you publish in a closed access journal, but according to journal policy, you should be able to put the final version of that paper in a public repository, and so make your research open access. So thank you for mentioning that. Adongo, you've raised your hand. It looks like we're getting a few questions in the chat box now.
Yes, Andy. This is an interesting question that Mungai brings, because it's a common problem that we face, and the issue of publishing a thesis as a book, especially an MSc thesis, to me is largely predatory. In those publishing houses claiming to convert your thesis into a book or a book chapter, because they do nothing but other than just putting it online or putting a few formatting things here and there. I don't think it makes a story for a book. I've got so many of those requests, and I think they're all fake, so to say. Now, the question of whether you can publish your MSc thesis, it is very possible. To me, the best options for publishing the MSc thesis, one is the institutional repository, where you deposit your thesis as it is, as a thesis, and it's available online, in all these online platforms. You deposit yourself, and that becomes something that can be, referenced, can be cited, and all these kind of things. Then, from your own thesis, you can actually extract an article, and we don't need to confuse a research article, scientific article, with a thesis. They're two different things. If you convert the thesis into an article, you find a completely different set of documents communicating to different audiences. So you can actually extract one or two of your objectives, combine them into an article, and you can publish it with all these other options that are available. And I've published a lot of my papers from my MSc students, most of them post-graduation. After the institutional repository, then you extract the paper and make a case for for an article. So that is a very good option. And of course, if someone is at MSc level, the next level they want maybe to go for their PhD or something like that, that becomes a good starting point for your academic career. There was a question here. I mean, the Revocrocast mentioned this issue of someone being asked to pick one article, one chapter, or one objective and make it a publication. That is the ideal. It depends on how broad your MSc thesis is. Sometimes they're all, maybe 2 or 3 objectives can be collapsed into one paper. Sometimes you can actually collapse them into, have them into 2 or 3 papers. But the whole idea here is that a research article will normally be very focused on a particular issue for which a thesis is broader, so it's not that one thesis translates into one article. So it is a choice that you can do with your supervisor to make sure you pick the best objective and font it as an article. That's what I wanted to add on that.
That's a very, very good answer, Donga, because that's something that happened to me earlier this year. So last year I completed my MA thesis, and then in time for earlier this year, I turned that into a research article, which I then submitted to my university's journal. So I was very lucky to have the opportunity to submit to the journal of my university. So a much shorter version, but sort of focusing on one of the main objectives of the thesis. So yeah, it is possible to turn those into journal articles. Thank you. There's quite a few other questions in the chat. My screen is frozen at the moment.
Yeah,
Would anyone
I
like
see.
to?
Yeah, I can help. I
Okay.
see a comment from Marjorie about what do you do if paper is rejected from multiple journals.
Mm.
Marjorie, I share your pain. I got one of my papers rejected 4 times in a row from 4 different journals. Now, what I discovered from that, what I learned from that experience was that normally there are issues of choices. A number of times you get rejection because of the choice of the journal outlet. Does it match your field? Is what you're publishing of interest to the journal? So reading the scope, the aims and scope of the journal and trying to understand, align it with your work. If it doesn't, don't start applying. Then the rejection, the other rejection, which I would consider minor issues or issues that you can handle normally before you submit, are issues of formatting. Referencing now has become less of an issue because of the automation, the reference managers. It's now easy for the publishing houses to just change your referencing style to what they want. But before that, it was a very big issue. Then the structuring of your thesis could also become an issue. The journals have their different ways of structuring and formatting the article, which they normally want you to follow. These days also that has become less because journals will always tell you, write it your way. When it's accepted, then we can always format it to what we really want. I think those are the 3 main reasons which I normally find people work being rejected. But it is a common thing, and sometimes it's also rejected because of none of those. Sometimes you submit your paper maybe to an issue, and the issue is full, and yeah, you don't get the attention of the editors, and sometimes it's just following the small rules of cover letter, anonymous, manuscript. The small instructions that the journals give can actually make the editor to get back your work, say you revise, change this, and that is a very annoying process. But normalists are paying keen attention to some of those small things that the journals is looking for. I don't know, over to you, Andy, if anyone else has experience of rejection.
I'm sure we've got some more experience of rejection in the room because it seems to be quite a universal experience for researchers and academics. But no, thank you for sharing your experience there, Dongo. That's really useful.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a really good question actually from sorry, Annette, I can see you've unmuted. Would you like to go ahead?
Yeah, I also wanted to respond to a question from Provocatus who said they are confused that students take one objective and prepare article publication, one objective for one article. So, to my knowledge, there is no universal way of determining how many papers should come from how many objectives. All right. In my practice, I'm in biotechnology. I think it falls under natural sciences. That's usually the case. Like one objective, you collect data, you can publish one paper. And usually when you are defending or you're presenting a proposal, people usually look at the way you structure objectives in a way that each objective has a specific methodology, that objectives cannot depend on each other in a way that if one objective fails, others fail. Or if you use one methodology, you answer 3 objectives. I think that's just a practice in my field and my university. But then I was co-supervisor to a student in social sciences, information studies in social sciences department. And I saw it was different, that one objective can produce several papers, or several objectives can be one paper. So if, let's say it's a study that involves, it can be a study that involves one questionnaire or one survey. But within that survey, there are several goals. So for example, the first goal can be to look at awareness and practices of, let's say, open research, right? And the second goal can be like tools and usage in open access. And the third one can be policy issues and stuff like that. So it can be one big or small survey, and like a huge data set comes from that. And depending on the objectives, it can be split into papers. So I think it depends more on the guidelines and regulation and practice in your field. But also some people also do what we call salami slicing. Like one data set is chopped into small, many papers because publish or perish, which journals don't like also. So I think it is possible, it's fine that one objective can lead to one paper or more. I hope that shed some light, Revocatus. Thanks.
Thank you, Annette. I liked your response there. It definitely does differ between different disciplines about how you focus on a thesis and make it into an article. Thank you. There's another really good question actually. So my institution has a repository. Does this cause any challenge when publishing after you submitted it to the institution? So if you've put your thesis in a repository, does that affect if you can then publish that as a research paper in a journal? I hope not, because that's what I've done with my thesis.
Yeah, I
No,
think it depends on the call. So sometime in the call, the editor can be more precise by saying that they need original work, which have been never published before. So that is why all the questions I've asked publishing or not or rejected, so don't said, it's mostly depending of the scope of the call. So if the call is not requiring that your work should be original, then you can publish. And also it depends of how you write, because the still and the way you write the thesis is not like that. That you should write a scientific paper. You need to know how to summarize your thesis. Are you going to focus on one chapter or all the entire thesis or something like that? Which sometimes make it difficult. But I think it's not the fact that your work has been published in an institutional repository doesn't prevent you to publish any chapter or article in another journal, basically. So that is
yeah, yeah. Thank you. Just to add to what Thomas has just indicated, a thesis is completely different from a journal article in the way it's structured, in the focus, So normally, what is required if you really publish it in an institutional repository is to cite. And you actually even declare it. Journals will give you provision that, is this work part of a bigger, work? Is your thesis part of your article part of a thesis? Then you declare that. And you even have to cite it. I actually had one student struggle with that. This was a case of a paper submitted. It was under, it went into, I forget it, preprint. It went into a preprint, and then the paper was rejected from that same journal. Then he revised the paper and now was submitting to another journal, and they found 100% similarity index copied from the preprint, because the preprint already published. So he had to just cite the preprint in his revised paper, and the paper has now been published. So the same thing goes for the thesis. When you have your thesis online, it's just a matter of citing, the same thesis, so that it doesn't appear like you are duplicating the work that you already published. Thank you.
Thank you, Odongo. I'm hoping that we've answered all your questions there. There's some really good questions. I think the facilitator's has done a very good job in answering them so far. Is there anything that we've missed so far? We've got about 5 minutes left.
There's a question from Mungai. I don't know if it has been answered. That what changes should I expect to do if you have to publish your MA thesis? I don't know if that has been answered, Mungai, from our discussions, but we have made hints to that. The thing is that a research article is a very focused piece of work, and you have to change the whole format, the sectioning, the writing has to flow to a particular objective. So it's normally shorter, much more focused on a particular, maybe one objective or two objectives combined, and tailored to a particular journal, requirements. So those are the few highlights I can tell you that you have to change from your thesis to an article. Definitely, it's going to look completely different pieces of work. Thank you, Mungai, for acknowledging that. Yeah. So that is what I wanted to emphasize. Thank you.
Yeah, and Mungai says in the chat, yes, now I get it. Thank you. I guess there's lots to think about when doing that, when looking to publish your MA as a journal article. So thank you to our facilitators for covering that. So we've come to the end, unless there are any other sorts of late questions. So we've covered some really important themes. Open access journals, things such as APCs and how to avoid them. That open access is not low quality. Understanding things such as preprints and green open access. Getting your materials online. You're publishing your thesis, either putting it online or institutional repository or on a Zenodo, or looking to publish it in a journal as well. But also being aware of some of the ethical issues you need to consider when you do that. Okay, thank you very much to our participants and our facilitators in today's session. It's been a very good discussion. Are there any other sort of final thoughts that we want to share before we go today?
I can just say that publication journey can seem complicated, but once you do it a few times, it becomes manageable. Not easier, just manageable. And you don't have to pay APCs all the time to publish open access. There are so many options. Ask for help, for support, ask questions. I'm always happy if you ask in the group or private, always happy to share some insights. it's doable to publish open access without paying. So I just wanted to add that. All the best.
Thank you, Anath. Yeah, I think that's a really important point. There are definitely options to avoid paying and having your research open access. So make sure you investigate all those possible options. We look at them in module 5. So check into the module and we'll go through those in more detail. Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much, everyone. Thanks to our facilitators and the participants for a really interesting discussion. I hope we've answered all your questions, and we look forward to seeing you on the module or in the WhatsApp group.
Thank you very much, Andy, also for moderating.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas. I hope your child's okay.
Yes, he's doing well now. Okay.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.